have another thing that I need to cover, and it's about the corruption of one Donald J. Trump. I know, strange that that president who has a history of being squeaky clean would, you know, be corrupt in any way, shape, or form, but we do need to talk about this because it is important. Your tax dollars do, in fact, fund him and, well, damn near everything he's about. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on there. But first, I want to talk about this piece of art right here. This is from Cald Ulfur, and this is one of the submissions for the fan art contest. Winner of contest will be the one to have their design used as a VTuber model for the channel. And this outfit, honestly, it looks neat and casual. But I think the thing I like about it the most is the little hoodie and the Slime Suris necklace. I think the Slime Suris necklace is adorable because we all know that we should not let him out at all. The Slime Suris necklace is evidence that no matter what, we always have to be vigilant with just things that could be scary if let out. But yeah, this one is great. Thank you very much for the submission, Calder. And if you want your fan art to be shown in a future video or a submission for the contest thrown in, then please drop it into the Discord. That said, let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on with Trump. And, well, the first thing we got to talk about has to do with Renee Good. And so for those who may not remember, Renee Good was a protester who was killed by ICE. She was shot in her car because an ICE agent claimed that she was trying to run him over, despite the fact that there was no video evidence that actually showed that at all. But that was the narrative that was ran with. And let's see how that came to be.
Kelly pointed to his February coverage of the killing of ICE protester Renee Good, alleging Barry Weiss directed his team to make the protesters look more violent and to describe Good as driving toward the officer who shot her.
There was a thumb on the scale for the president's version of events that I felt was a level of political influence that I had never seen in 37 years at CBS News.
Okay, so CBS News, generally speaking, is a liberal outlet. It's not that conservative. It's not quite CNN, but it's definitely not quite an actual lefty news outlet. But it's also definitely nowhere near Fox News. Thalags, which says just a thumb. Pretty sure it was a full-on boot. Jassa says, I know one Gestapo agent just got sentenced to 20 or 30 years, which isn't enough, but it's something. I think 20 or 30 years is still okay. Like, it's a lot of time. We don't think about how long that is in prison. We really don't. And our prison system is really fucked to begin with. Anyways, can we talk about how absolutely fucking crazy that is? An admission from a journalist that, hey, right now, I am seeing the President of the United States attempt to be the Minister of Truth. That's what that means. When he says, he was putting a thumb on the scale and that was scary, what's really being said is the President is trying to be Minister of Truth. The version of the events that the President thinks needs to be communicated to the people is the version that CBS is trying to push to people instead. And that's terrifying. And what's even more terrifying is looking at people who are commenting on this saying, you don't have any evidence that that's the case. He brought no evidence to this. Like, you know, have you seen what President Trump has been doing and saying? You do have evidence. Character evidence is a type of evidence. And the character evidence of Donald Trump is that he has a version of reality in his own head that he will fight tooth and nail to convince you of, unless you're sucking his dick just real good, real nice. That's when he will actually let up the heel a little bit. Transistor said, I heard the story. Why do they hate us trans people so much? I don't think this one was about trans people, but I mean, you're right. I don't know why they do. I think it's stupid and cruel. But this one was about Renee Good specifically, who last I checked wasn't trans. But the scary thing to me is hearing the confirmation from a storied journalist specifically that our government is not, like, we already knew that our government was fucking with everything in regards to media. We knew that they were shuffling who got which seats in the Pentagon. We knew they were shuffling who was able to be in like the 5 news seats that are allowed to be there. We knew that they were favoring certain news organizations during presidential briefings, the stuff that Caroline Leavitt was doing. We know all that, but hearing somebody say, yeah, no, like within the actual walls of my job, we were being told to lean further into the president's fucking delusions. That's terrifying. That is absolutely fucking terrifying. But what's even more terrifying about that is that despite the fact that there was damn near unilateral understanding about what happened to Renee Good, it was even difficult for right-wingers to try to explain it away. Now that we have enough time distance from the event, reading the actual comment section in regards to this, I'm seeing a whole lot of people who are agreeing with Trump's version of events. Now, again, this is Twitter. There's always a chance that these are bots. There's always a chance this is just like the monkeys in the Superman movie doing the PSYOP shit. I understand that. But just looking at the amount of people who are sucking the dick of this version of events, it feels like it's a little more than when the event actually happened. I know there was a lot of pushback from the right when this event happened, trying to argue that she was actually trying to kill an ICE agent, but I do remember like a lot of even normies effectively saying, yeah, no, this is the one. This is the one that's showing that you guys are just executing American citizens right now. That's what you're doing. And there are still people who are coming out specifically in favor now of the other version of the story, the one that Trump wanted. And it's a lot. It's a lot. She said, go get a sandwich, big boy. Meanwhile, there's a lot of people who are throwing shade at Scott Pelley here, who's the one who's breaking this story, showing quotes from him specifically saying, Barry Weiss sends an email to my boss, Tanya Simon. 2 of the things in the email include, can we make the protesters look more violent? Now I'm paraphrasing. I don't have the quote, but that's what was communicated to me. And the other thing, Renee Good's car, you need to describe her as driving towards the officer. That's not what you see in the video. On the video, you see the officer standing slightly to the front of the car, Scott Pelley, and you clearly see Miss Good's wheels turn completely as far as they will go away from the officer. We had already scrubbed the video archives looking for those scenes. Somehow, that wasn't enough for Miss Barry Weiss. The video showed that the officer wasn't standing in front of the car and she wasn't driving towards him, but that's what the president said about that, and that's the way she wanted it described. Meanwhile, like, so we have one person showing, like, here's the quote that's relevant. And then we have another person going, I know, right? It's so hard to imagine a journalist from the pantheon of journalists faking a story. It's unprecedented. It could never have happened. All right, this is the fucking binary thinking shit. Yes, journalists make shit up sometimes. They shouldn't. It's a violation of journalistic integrity, but it happens. It's just a thing that happens sometimes. And sometimes you get the CNN thing where they end up taking a story that is from a right-wing activist and getting all the information incorrect in the story and then setting out misinformation that way. We shouldn't accept it, but it does happen. But then taking that nugget of truth and extrapolating from that nugget of truth, yeah, journalists, quote, quote, journalists can be trusted, right? Quote, quote. Like, no, that's not what this means, dumbass. Journalism itself is a practice that should be practiced with integrity. It is one of the reasons why Fox News, who does not have integrity, actually is not considered to be news. It is considered news entertainment. It's basically Saturday Night Live, but with a straight face. Watching people have this opinion about the Renee Good thing, it's frustrating. Watching people come out and do this whole, like, journalists can't be trusted, that bothers me as well, because that's... I don't want to be the guy doing the 1984 thing, but that feels very 1984. It feels that. That said, if we're gonna talk about President Trump's fraud shit, and I think trying to push the scales of democracy and trying to push the scales of information coming out to people is 100% fraud. But I mentioned democracy, right? I think we need to talk about that real quick. Here.
15 states are you talking about?
I want to see elections be honest, and if a state can't run an election, I think the people behind me should do something about it. Because, you know, if you think about it, a state is an agent for the federal government in elections. I don't know why the federal government doesn't do them anyway. But when you see some of these states about how horribly they run their elections, what a disgrace it is. I think the federal government, when you see crooked elections, and we had plenty of them, and by the way, we had them last time, but go to 2020 and look at the facts that are coming out. Rigged, crooked elections.
Man, I love how he doesn't give any details about any of this whatsoever. No details about how they're rigged, no details about how they're crooked, but the understanding that the state will be taking care of it from now on. You can trust the state to do this. Don't trust, your state to do this. Trust the state to do this. Trust the federal process. Do not trust your local elections. Those are all rigged and corrupt and stupid. Ignore all the times we've talked about states' rights and individuality and all that bullshit. Now we need top-down power, Mao style, like fucking stupid shit. Said, wait, whatever happened to states' rights? Why are states just agents for the federal government now? Because the story never matters. The story is a tool. The story that you are told is a tool. You are given a story to make you feel something. And in this case, the story that is being told is that elections are corrupt, so states need to lose their rights. When it is convenient to be states' rights will be the story. When it is convenient for top-down, just full-on dictatorial power to be used, then that is when that story will be used instead. There is no internal consistency to any of these processes other than it is whatever will benefit Trump the most at that time.
If we have areas, take a look at Detroit, take a look at Pennsylvania, take a look at Philadelphia.
Dorito says, my last message, the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. And if all others accepted the lie, which the party imposed, if all records told the same tale, that lie would be passed into history and become truth. Yeah. There's a saying that I think people get really, really riled up about, but it's a fucking true saying. The history is almost always written by the victors. I have heard exactly one person try to refute that, saying, actually, no, it's written by historians, but that person believes that monarchs are a good thing, so fuck it. So, realistically, whoever has the power, given enough time, they can make events be whatever they want. That's what that term means. It's a little harder in the age of the internet, because information flows like fucking water here. At least it used to. But if you can get enough people to believe in fake versions of events, and you can get enough people to repeat the things their teacher said, like Wikipedia is not a source, without actually being critical about why their teacher was saying that, then you just end up in a... Why did I just hear a bump? One sec. All right, back to Dolan Tramp.
Philadelphia. You go take a look at Atlanta. Look at some of the places that horrible corruption on elections, and the federal government should not allow that. The federal government should get involved. The federal government should get involved in elections because we can't trust our elections. Don't worry, Mike Johnson tells me that we should trust our elections, but we shouldn't trust our elections at all. We can't trust our elections. Only trust what the state tells you about the elections. That's the thing you should trust more than anything. I hate that I'm beginning to sound like a fucking tinfoil hatter, but it's this guy. So, like, I feel like it's completely understood that it's deserved. Agents of the federal government to count the votes. If they can't count the votes legally and honestly, then somebody else should take over.
But the Constitution says it should be states that administer elections, Mr. President.
Yeah, he doesn't care what the Constitution says, though. That's the thing. He doesn't give a shit about constitutionality. He never has. The President of the United States hasn't given two flying fucks about the Constitution for a very, very long time. This is the guy who told us that we were not going to be going to war ever again under him, that was the thing that Kamala Harris was gonna do for us. Meanwhile...
You insisted no new wars.
First of all, I didn't guarantee no war.
I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. No more wars, no more disruptions. We will have prosperity and we will have peace. Under Trump, we will have no more wars, no more disruptions, and we will have prosperity and peace for all. I am the candidate of peace. I am peace. We will turn the page for
I am peace. Sounds like he's saying he's pissed.
Forever. One of those foolish, stupid days of never-ending wars. They never ended.
You insisted no new wars.
I just remember, he's the no war candidate. He's going to make sure we don't have war. No war. Except for the Iran war. Guys, did you know what I found out today? You know what I found out? It's interesting. So, my waste disposal company that we use for our garbage, that company has a contract with us that we are not supposed to have our rates increase by any more than 5% in a given quarter. My rates went up from $50 to $75 for a quarter. Now, that's not a whole lot of money. I understand. That's not the end of the world. But when I called them to dispute it, the exact reason I was given was fuel prices are too expensive now because of the Iran war. We can't afford to charge less. The Iran war is affecting fucking garbage running. It's not just what goods can get out of the Strait of Hormuz. It's literally just everything. So much of United States industry relies on our oil and fuel that it's just fucked. It's so fucked. So we have a president who lies to us about what happens to protesters, a president who lies to us about whether we're going to go to war, a president who lies to us about the integrity of elections. Is there anything he won't lie to us about? Because it's starting to feel like that answer is no. It's starting to feel like anything that could possibly come out of his mouth is just a goddamn lie. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.